With Rocket League going free to play, I figured I should give you guys who are just getting into the game some useful settings you should change before playing. The list is ranked from most to least important, starting off with the first thing you should change, camera shake. This is a setting you should have turned off even if you want to play the game casually. Just head over to options, then camera, and make sure camera shake is turned off. This completely eliminates screen shake whenever you perform certain actions like hitting the ball or flipping, allowing for a much smoother gameplay experience. While we're in the camera settings tab, let's take a look at the second very important setting, and this is your camera settings. This can be a topic for an entire video, so for now, all you want to do is set field of view to 110%. This allows you to see more of the field while playing and works the same way as it would in FPS games. If you want to get into Rocket League more seriously, you should really consider looking at your camera settings closely. Wayton Pilkington has a wonderful guide on camera settings, and I've linked his video in the description. Moving on, we get to the control settings. Now, while I highly recommend using a controller for this game, there are several notable professional players in successful teams using keyboard and mouse, so if you don't own a controller, don't be too discouraged. In your control settings, the most important settings will be air roll and power slide. By default, these are set to square on PlayStation controllers or X on Xbox. This is not ideal because your boost button is set to the opposite button, circle or B, and it can be really awkward trying to boost and air roll or slide at the same time. That's why I recommend changing your air roll and power slide buttons to L1 or LB. This will interfere with your scoreboard, so change that as well. Personally, R1 or RB works well for me. You'll notice that R1 or RB are default settings for voice chat. I recommend just clearing that binding because frankly no one ever uses it. As with camera settings, controls are something that deserves an entire video, so feel free to look up some guides, mainly the air roll left and air roll right settings. Next, let's take a look at some graphics options. This is something extremely personalized, but there are some settings that can be distracting while playing. Most importantly, make sure your transparent goalposts setting is checked. This allows you to see through the goalposts while you're in the net, giving you better vision. Next, make sure your max FPS is at least as high as your monitor refresh rate and your render quality is set to high quality. In the advanced settings, I recommend turning off depth of field, bloom, lens flares, light shafts, motion blur and weather effects, because these settings can impact visibility in the game. Personally, I have everything turned off and details set to performance. Again, these are my recommendations, and if you want your game to look prettier, by all means turn the settings on. This concludes my recommendations. If you have any further questions, you can ask them down in the comments. And remember, the most important thing is to just have fun.